Jai Hind to all and welcome to Team MNT, the Futurists. This video is about Qatar's refusal to support strikes against Iran. Now, Qatar hosts the Udeid Air Base that targets US military base in Middle East, which serves as a critical hub for American operations in region. Despite this, Qatar has reportedly refused to support strikes against Iran, specifically targeting its nuclear facilities. Now, the Prime Minister's reasoning, it clearly hinges on two key points. First, Qatar's security would be jeopardized, and second, Persian Gulf states would also face a water crisis within 3 days if Iran's nuclear sites are attacked. So, when we do the analysis of this aspect, the security concerns, the Prime Minister has clearly said our security would be tarnished. What is going to be the geopolitical positioning? Qatar shares the Persian Gulf with Iran. It's much larger and militarily capable neighbor. An attack on Iran could provoke retaliation, and Qatar's proximity makes it vulnerable. Hosting a US base already puts it on Iran's radar, but actively supporting strikes could escalate it into a direct target. Then Iran's retaliatory capabilities. Iran has ballistic missiles, drones and proxy forces. Example, Hezbollah and Houthis that we have already seen. That could strike Qatar. The Strait of Hormuz, a critical choke point for oil and gas shipments, including Qatar's lucrative LNG exports, could also be disrupted by Iran in response, threatening Qatar's economy and stability. Neutrality as a strategy. When we talk about Qatar, has historically balanced relations with both Western powers and even Iran. Supporting strikes could perhaps ruin this diplomatic tightrope, alienating Iran and potentially other regional actors sympathetic to it. Then plausibility. This argument is reasonable. Qatar's small size and population, which is about 2.8 million, making it militarily vulnerable, and its leadership likely prioritizing avoiding direct conflict with Iran to preserve national security. Then when we talk about the water crisis, the Persian Gulf states will run out of water in 3 days. Dependence on desalination. Persian Gulf states, including Qatar, rely heavily on desalination plants for fresh water as natural water resources are scarce. Qatar produces over 99% of its drinking water through desalination, primarily powered by natural gas. So, how an attack could perhaps disrupt this water? The Prime Minister's claims suggest that an attack on Iran's nuclear facilities could disrupt this system. Possible mechanisms include Strait of Hormuz closure. Iran could mine or attack ships in the strait, halting the flow of oil and gas. So Qatar's desalination plants, it depends on gas powered energy. A supply cutoff could cripple them. Then the environmental fallout, when we talk about if Iran's nuclear site, example Bashar and Natanz, are bombed, radioactive contamination could spread. Prevailing winds and ocean current might carry fallout to the Gulf, rendering desalinated water unsafe. So Bashar, for instance, is on the Gulf coast, roughly 200 miles from Qatar. So military or cyber retaliation, when we talk about Iran, could target Gulf infrastructure directly or launch cyber attacks to disable them. Now, what is this 3-day timeline? Gulf states maintain water reserves, but these are limited. Qatar's storage capacity is estimated at 2 to 7 days under normal conditions. A sudden disruption could exhaust reserves quickly, especially if energy supplies falter. So plausibility, this is less straightforward. A 3-day water crisis assumes a rapid catastrophic chain reaction. Example, Iran closing the strait and targeting infrastructure, and Gulf states failing to adapt. Now, while possible, it's an extreme scenario. Radioactive contamination is at risk, but its immediacy and severity depend on variables like wind patterns and the scale of the attack. Now, the 3 days figure feels like rhetorical flourish unless backed by specific contingency studies, which are not in public domain yet. Now, Qatar's broader calculus is US alliances versus regional stability. Qatar benefits from US protection but doesn't want to be a launchpad for the war that perhaps destabilizes the Gulf. Their refusing support could strain ties with Washington but also preserve the regional equilibrium, which is imperative. Then economic survival, when we talk about Qatar's economy relies on LNG exports which pass through the strait. A conflict with Iran risks economic collapse, far outweighing any short-term US favor gained by supporting strikes. So what is the public messaging here? The Prime Minister's statement may also be a signal to Iran: we are not your enemy, and Gulf neighbors, we are prioritizing collective survival. So when we talk about, maybe I personally, if I just do a little analysis, US pressure, the US might lean hard on Qatar to allow Al Udeid to be used for strikes given its strategic importance. Qatar's refusal could test the alliance. Exaggeration for effect, the water crisis claim especially the precise 3 days might be hyperbolic to justify a politically convenient stance. And Iran's restraint, Iran might not escalate to the level Qatar fears, especially if strikes are limited, and it seeks to perhaps avoid a full-scale war. So Qatar's refusal to support strikes on Iran's nuclear facilities is rooted in self-preservation, avoiding retaliation, maintaining regional balance, and protecting vital resources like water and energy. The security argument is robust and it aligns with Qatar's strategic realities. The water crisis claim, while plausible in a worst case scenario, seems more speculative and may serve as a dramatic underscore to rally domestic or regional support for neutrality. Overall, Qatar's reasoning reflects a pragmatic choice to prioritize survival over escalation in a volatile region. We hope you find this video informative and interesting. Do let us know about your thoughts in our comment section. Jai Hind and Jai Bharat.